I came from Cuba when I was 10. You know this. So I say that to say, that immigrant hustle, right? So I get here, my parents, like many, Miami stories or Cuban, Venezuelans, Nicaraguan stories, had to work really, really hard. And I saw that. I was already 10. So it's not like I was like super shielded from the struggle. Make money. I wanted to provide for my family. Like I wanted to, and the land of opportunity.
I think that a lot of our success and our journey is or was affected by watching our parents struggle.
This business, which in law is really yourself, right? Like the entire business is in your brain.
How do you take that approach in your business, and how do you think we can better do that in our community? Today, we're joined by Maritza Haro Salgado. She, like many of us, wears many hats. She is a wife, a mom, a successful attorney, and she's my friend. Before law school, she founded and successfully ran an event planning company for over 6 years. Upon graduating from law school, she sold the company to fully pursue her passion for business and the law. She now focuses on land use and zoning matters across various jurisdictions. Maritza is a connector. She's authentic, she's engaged, and I'm so proud to call her my friend. Please enjoy this episode. I want to thank you for joining me today. To give a little bit of background, we both went to Southwest High School. So we know each other for a while now. And it's funny because we went to high school together. I went to UF, you stayed in Miami, and we kind of disconnected there for a little bit. And I'm not really sure what started. Maybe you reached out.
I think it was a networking event.
You're right.
A friend in common, Maria, I think connected us.
Yes.
And
then kind of we sort of picked up where we left off.
We were doing real estate. It was somewhat, related to land use. And I think after that,
we kind of picked
up. Reconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would probably don't say that enough, but I would say, are like the sounding board for a lot of my ideas. And you've always been very supportive of me and supportive of all my crazy ideas, for lack of a better word. And I thought this would be a really good conversation to have about women supporting other women, and also how kind of where you got to where you are, and a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. You are such an inspiration to me. I think I've told you this. I don't know how you do it all. Mom, business, attorney, wife, daughter, all the things, and you do it so well. And I'm excited to be part of this venture, this podcast, and just to connect and hopefully inspire other women to, go after what they want.
So you have a really cool trajectory. When you were in high school, I remember, I don't know what it stands for, but you were part of DECA. And I do remember that it being something about a business magnet. And you graduated, then you went to FIU and you started your own business. And how did you have, first of all, the courage to do that? And how was that, starting a business in college when you really should just be learning to do something afterwards?
Yeah, so that's a packed question. So I think to answer that, I have to share that I came from Cuba when I was 10. You know this. So I say that to say, that immigrant hustle, right? So I get here, my parents, like many, Miami stories or Cuban, Venezuelans, Nicaraguan stories, had to work really, really hard. And I saw that. I was already 10. So it's not like I was like super shielded from the struggle. So I feel like that lit a fire in me that I needed to be quote unquote successful, right? I needed to make money. I wanted to provide for my family. Like I wanted to, and the land of opportunity. So when I get to, I've also always, even from when I was little, like I remember I had a friend, one of my first friends when I came to the US. We used to make like out of beads, like little alligator keychains and sell them for $1, like in school. And it was like that was my real first business. And so I think I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. And when I went to Southwest, they had their banking and finance magnet program. I was a part of that. And I met a lot of great people through that, as well as, had the opportunity to participate in DECA and go to competitions at the state and national level. And it was business. There were different paths, like finance at the time. It was like e-commerce, which is like now crazy, who would have thought, which is the now, right? At that time, that was the future. So that's kind of like, that was my high school experience. Then I, go on to FIU. I stayed local, and I forgot how exactly I said, you know what, like children's birthday parties, I like to host. I like beautiful things. I like decorating. So I think my sister had like a little gig dressing up as a princess for a company. And I was like, you know what, we can do that. We can do it on the weekends. We can make it a family business. It can help me like get through college. It's something that I can do on the weekends. During the week, I can kind of like answer calls, email. I can build this in the pockets of time while I'm also being a student. So like that flexibility. And we did that, and my parents were so supportive. Like, our initial team, it was my family. It was like a child labor. Got my sister, who's 5 years younger than me. She was like 16, 15 at the time. And, to join, and she would dress up as characters. I definitely dressed up as a clown, in the early beginnings. And then I learned, that was not my craft, and ended, subcontracting people. So I grew the company. I started in 2009, and, it's Miami Party Entertainment. Like, shout out to them. They're still around. I sold it upon graduating law school because I wanted to focus on law, on my new career, which is very different from event planning, kids' birthday parties, and the like.
That's awesome. And I would describe you as, like, this might sound funny, but like as a hustler, you really are in every aspect of your life, I think. You see an opportunity and you like pursue it, to the max. And so from there you go to law school and you decide, I know that you worked at, local government, at the local government level. And then from there you decided when you graduated that you would go into private practice. And how was that transition? Because I think that's so interesting that you work for yourself. You don't really have, quote unquote, a boss. And then you transition to working for someone. How was that for you? Because you do have an entrepreneurial spirit, and you don't want to kill that, but you also see an opportunity here to build something with a team. And how was that transition for you?
Yeah, so the transition, I had worked at other, in high school, I worked at a startup, at the same time, actually, when Miami Party Entertainment was just sort of, taking off. I did have another part-time. And so, you definitely, when you own your own business, you do have you have flexibility, but at the end of the day, it's
right.
just as demanding as having a more traditional job. I would say that for me, the shift was, quote unquote, easy, in the sense that I had worked so hard to you can relate to this, right? Get my law degree. Yeah. And I saw it as a way, like, okay, I'm ready to close this chapter with the event. I can host my own events. I'll look forward to, personal milestones, bridal shower, baby showers, whatever. I can use my creativity through that, but I'm ready to close this chapter and embark on my legal career, or the next step, which I would like for it to be entrepreneurial as well. The area of law that I'm in, I practice land use and zoning, as you know. I'm at a boutique firm in Miami, And it's very entrepreneurial. And I saw in the sense that we collaborate with each other. We all do land use and zoning law throughout Miami-Dade County. But it's very much, and as an attorney anywhere, really, you have to, to bring in your own business, you have to employ all of those same business tactics, right?
Right.
And so it was a big transition in the sense that like I was learning this new craft. So I really, when I start at Burkow, I really put my head down and just, learned the craft, right? Like learned how to be an excellent associate first, how to service the partners, how to service the clients. Now I'm a partner there, and now my next step is, doubling down on the business side of it and growing that part. So I think although I am at a firm, traditional model, the way that our firm works is still very entrepreneurial, and you still have to generate business. You still have to, do all those things. We also have incredible flexibility. Similar to, when you own your own business, right? The important thing is that the client is taken care of, that their issues are resolved. So as long as, you do that, our firm is like kind of like indie law, if you will, in that it's not big law where maybe there's all these rules and structures. So I think that kind of made the transition helpful.
And I think you point to something that people don't necessarily understand. You go to law school and you learn case law, but you don't necessarily learn how to be a lawyer, number one, how to find business, how to run a business, because the reality is, as a solo, I have to be a business person, even though I didn't go to business school. And so I think that your experience is interesting in that you got all the book knowledge from the academic side, but as a business person, you also brought a completely different perspective to your law firm or to your employer. And like you said, it's a mix of both being entrepreneur, but also working for a team. What skills do you think that you developed or what did you learn from being an entrepreneur that you sort of transitioned to being an attorney? And I think you touched upon that, but I think, if you could be more specific.
Yeah. So I think being resourceful which is so important. I think that as a business owner, especially as a small business owner, you learn, right? Like it's a lot of times a one-woman man shop, and you have to do what you can with what you have and just being, scrappy and putting it together. So I think that that's an incredibly useful skill that I learned early on, and how to, find the answers, even if I'm not the expert. That specific area where the problem lies. So I would say being resourceful, resilient, right, are incredibly useful skills that transfer really well to being an attorney.
I agree. And I love that word scrappy, because it's not like a technical term, but I think that's so important. And I would urge not only young attorneys, or people that want to go to law school, anybody really, like that just divides the two different types of classes of people in terms of perseverance, resilience. You need to be able to, if you don't know the answer to something, be willing to put in that work.
100%.
And I think, I don't want to sound old, but I think we're losing that a little bit, because we have access maybe to other things that our generation didn't have. We were never constantly on social media. I was never a video game person. So I think that skill is something that you really need to hone in on, and it's super transferable wherever you go, whether you're an attorney, whether you're in business, whatever you do. If you're scrappy, I think you're ahead of the curve. I want to pivot a little bit, because we're both first generation. I mean, I was born here, but you came from Cuba. But the reality is my parents...
Very similar
upbringing, yes. And I think that a lot of our success and our journey is or was affected by watching our parents struggle.
100%.
And we both have kids, and we both obviously want the best for our kids, and we wouldn't necessarily want them to go through the same sort of impediments that we have or had. But we also want them to be scrappy. We also want them to be resilient. And I struggle with this in the sense that I want to be able to give them a better life and have them have access to all these opportunities. But I also kind of want them to struggle a little bit, because I think that played such an important role in our trajectories and why we feel that hunger to succeed and achieve. I guess, do you feel that same sense of responsibility, and like, how do you cope with that, and how sort of, what do you want to show your kids so that they also, you know, want to feel engaged and achieve?
Yeah, it's a great question. I definitely struggle with that. I think about that a lot, actually. And where I've landed with that is, you know, my daughter's not going to have the same upbringing I have. Thank God, right? Like, although, you know, it was great, I'm grateful for it, for what I went through. The reason why we've worked so hard is exactly for that. But I have, you know, looked into this, and I think the way that the things that I'm doing or trying, you know, my daughter's 4. She's still relatively young, but I think giving her the things that we try to do, right, is not solve every problem for her, right? It's so easy. Grandparents especially, like, if, you know, they're struggling putting on their sweater, it's like, come here, let me, you know, like, let them struggle a little bit, even if it's on little things. And giving them responsibility. Right? So, like, she's not going to have to worry about, you know, perhaps, you know, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to, you know, but I would like for her to feel a sense of responsibility for herself and for our household, right? And the things that need to happen. And whether that, you know, at 4 years old maybe means like, help me make the bed, let's make it together. And eventually you're making it. You know, help me set the table, right? Like, it obviously depends on the kid's age. Right now she's 4, so it's like, those are the things that are appropriate for us. But I look forward to, as she grows up, giving her responsibilities and, you know, things that this is like what you have to do because you have to do it. Like, you don't get a prize for making your bed, for setting the table, for like whatever. Like, you know, this is picking up your toys.
Absolutely,
like, things like that, which I think is so easy to just do it yourself a lot of times. But I think since they lack the problems that we had, right? It's like modern, you know, first world problems now. I think giving them responsibility, and I think that there's a lot of literature on that kids, the most, like, I think there was a study, this could just be like, you know,
no, there is
Facebook, but from Harvard, where like the #1 determinant of success is kids that were given chores when they were little. And that makes sense, because whether it was, you know, I started working when I was 14, as soon as I could, because I was like, okay, I need to find a way to fund the nice things that I like. You know, because my parents don't have the means right now. So that's responsibility. Upon myself, right? And it was because of my circumstances. My daughter's not going to feel that pressure, and it's fine, but she's going to have like other responsibilities that I think hopefully will translate and facilitate her learning those really important skills: grit, resiliency, and you know, that's the best we can do, I think.
I agree with you. I agree with you, and we sort of take the same approach. And Sean and I think about, my husband and I think about that a lot, because, and I think that's another reason we wanted to start a family business, because they have really seen like every single stage of this business. And it's not like they were born into wealth and, you know, it just happened. They kind of have been there from the very beginning. And I hope that that like seeps into their psyche, and it helps them, you know, also be propelled to achieve something or build something that's important. It's not necessarily about wealth, which kind of leads me to this next topic that we discuss quite frequently is, okay, you've checked all the boxes. You've got the degrees, you have the ability to be in circles, everything that we possibly wanted in high school, we kind of, I would say we've achieved, right? And now you get to that, and then what do you do? Like, does that really equate to happiness? And maybe we are privileged in that our parents didn't have that ability to think like, okay, what makes me happy now, right?
Fulfillment, like
Correct.
now it's like,
correct.
I check the boxes. Now, what do I really want to do?
Exactly.
Like, what do I really want?
And I think a lot of people from our generation and even younger generations, which I think they're more adamant about work-life balance and, figuring that
aligning how they envision themselves with the careers they choose. And
so I wanted to talk more about that because I think a lot of people struggle with that. And where do you draw the line of, yes, I want to be happy, but also you gotta do stuff. You can't just think about happiness. The reality is your house costs something, your expenses will add up. So how do you, I guess, how has that transition been for you, going from, okay, I did what I was supposed to do and I've checked the box, and now what?
This is something that I'm still struggling with, right? We talk about this a lot. I love what I do. I love, entrepreneurship, and I'm excited for, to continue to grow this business, which in law is really yourself, right? Like the entire business is in your brain, right? But I do think about that a lot because, how we talked about my upbringing and what led me to go to law school. A lot of the choices that I made that I'm still living with, which I don't regret them, but they were really influenced and narrowed down by my upbringing, right? Like by I need to do these things,
I would say the same
right?
thing.
So like happiness was not something that I was thinking when I was like, I need to go to college. I need to find it, do something that, yes, I love, but I need to financially support myself and whatever. So a lot of my choices were forced or forged through that. I think now, like you said, having checked off the boxes and, there's many goals but now I feel like, okay, now I can set the goals based on these like altruistic feelings. Like, what do I want my life to look like? And that's probably a combination of experience, because when you're young, right, when you're trying to go to college, or when you're, trying to figure out what do I want to do, or maybe, I don't know, maybe younger kids are more wise in that sense, or have the ability to think about these things. I wasn't thinking about what is my life going to look like when I'm 35, right? Or if you asked me then, in my mind, like the definition of success is like me in a suit in this high rise.
I was the same.
Making good money with a nice car, like, that was my definition of success. And if I look at my life now, like, that's me. That is, but is that what Maritza today, is that what makes me happy, right? Or are there other things that I, should have considered? And I think this could be a product, and since we're just, a product of having achieved it, and then you're like, oh, okay. So like, what's next? Right. I also talked to on this sort of same topic, I talked to a therapist, and she mentioned to me that also it's like, once you have your basic needs met, then you have the luxury.
Which our parents didn't have.
Which our parents did not have. And which many people don't have. Right? Because you have to think about like these other things.
Basic things.
Basic needs. So yeah, I'm still figuring it out. It is exciting because I think, we're young, right?
I would say so. I'm not going to give that up yet.
No, we're young. And I think, we have, like, now we can continue to reinvent ourselves. And I think we have. We've known each other since we were 15.
Yeah.
And we've gone through a lot of different phases and a lot of different versions of Denisa and Maritza.
That's true.
And when we look at that, I think we can, we will continue to reinvent ourselves. And I think the luxury now is that we get to choose what is the and I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer, which I guess looking back when I was younger, in my mind, there would have been a right or wrong.
It was more black and white.
More black and white. It was like, this is what you need to do. Like, this is success. I think now could be like, more wiser with age. Success can look like so many things, right? And we have the freedom to choose what that looks like.
Right. And having like establishing boundaries that kind of support that life that we do want. And that's hard too, because especially I would characterize us as overachievers, and that's positive, but can also be negative in that we do, and then we forget to like check in and be like, hey, like, should I slow down? Should I not? But I think that, struggling with that is just part of the process, and understanding like you're going to grow, you're going to change. And the reality is that life is not linear. Like, look at our friendship.
100%.
We were very close in high school. We both took different, trajectories, and somehow I say the universe conspired to bring us back together.
100%.
And, I think that, it's okay for everything not to happen exactly like you thought it would. Because you're right. Like, if you had asked me a couple years ago or before I went to law school, like, what was your end goal? And I'd be like, well, to drive a nice car, have a nice house.
Like, now I'm like, I don't even care about that.
Right. And it's true. I think going back to what you said about the therapist, it's true. Like, the reality is once your basic needs are met, what is any extra going to add more value to your life? And I think we talk about freedom and like having freedom of time and the ability to choose who we work with, who we hang out with, and who we spend time with, really, to allow into our energy space and like what we want to, that aligns with our goals and our vision for our lives. And, sort of going back to my original point of how you are the sounding board for a lot of my ideas, I think another concept I would love to touch on is women supporting other women, and especially in the legal field, because that's really, what we do and the community that we're in. The importance of understanding that you can support someone else, especially another woman, and it's okay. Like, not having a scarcity mentality where you think that there's only a set number of clients and you all have to chase the same exact client. How have you seen that in, your work environment, and how I know firsthand that you do propel women and you try to connect everyone, not just lawyers, but and not just women. I've seen you do it for everyone. How do you take that approach in your business, and how do you think we can better do that in our community?
I love this question. I think like sort of foundational principles that I like to always go back to in my life when I'm making decisions, when I'm like struggling mentally with something like that sometimes will, trigger what is actually fear, right? Is having an abundance mentality. There's enough to go around for everybody. And that applies to everything, to business, to literally everything in life. And generosity, right? Like leading with generosity and abundance. So I try to go back to that and remember that whenever because they're normal feelings to have, right? Like, oh, is there gonna be, like, is this person gonna, if I help them, are they going to take my business? Or if, a competitor of mine is in the same organization that I'm in, for example, we were talking about that earlier, is that a disadvantage to me? And I think just shifting that mentality and recognizing that there's enough to go around, and in everything in life, you get out of it what you put in.
Right. I agree.
Like nobody has a monopoly on business, on clients, on money. Like it's you get what you put in. in networking events, organizations. And so I think that is like a foundational, and I'm happy to, like, we can talk more about that and ways that, happy to brainstorm how we can put that at the forefront. I'll say that we attend a lot of the same networking events. I love being a connector. And I think that that's the whole point of networking, is like genuinely figuring out who needs to talk to who for a win-win, right? Like mutual benefit, alignment, naturally, right? Because it exists. But a lot of times, if we step into a room thinking with a mentality of like, all of that is fear-based, right? Like scarcity. It's really fear, like at the core. So I think just making that shift is so important, and opening up the doors. I for everybody to have a seat at the table, and just being accepting of people, other ideas, especially with everything that's going on in the world today. I really enjoy putting people together, and I think my competition is me yesterday.
Right.
Like, I'm my own competition.
I agree.
Especially in the field that we're in, right? Like, we are the product. Our brain is the service. So I think just making that shift is really important, especially in our industry, and collaborating with people. Thankfully, in my work environment, I don't have that sort of feeling of competition. I know a lot, bigger firms, I guess. It's a lot. What I've heard, I've only worked at one firm since I graduated. I've been practicing. It's going to be 10 years next year.
Right.
So I only know what I know. But I hear that other firms, it's like eat what you kill, and just more of a competitive environment. Which, as attorneys, most of us are naturally competitive, which is a healthy dose of competition is fine.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying not to be competitive, but they don't have to, like, they're not mutually exclusive, right? You can like want to win and also want other people. Like, I just think we don't all want exactly the same things. Right. And I also think that there's enough resources, at least in my mind, to go around.
I agree. I think that not every client is for you. Yeah. So like, you shouldn't think that you're going to be the attorney for everyone.
No. And that's good.
Exactly.
Because we all, we all naturally have working styles, ways of communicating that we prefer.
Absolutely.
And so you would be a better match for a client that really aligns with those ideals. It would save you a lot of stress, I think.
Yes, because you're going to always be at odds with your client.
Those rubs.
Right. I agree.
And yeah.
And you could probably extrapolate that to every aspect of your life. Yeah.
100%. And like making sure that things align. I think as we grow wiser, we realize that alignment is really important. And that's not to say that we're not accepting of people that are different from us. That's not to say that, but really that we have aligned like ideals. And for me, energy is important, right? Like, I value things, supporting other people, generosity, like all these principles that we're talking about, like those things are important. So aligning yourself with people that think similarly, and that realize that they themselves are a work in progress. Like, we are all works in progress, right? Like, regardless of how much you've accomplished or what you've done in life, there is no cap.
Right.
Like, we can always continue to grow and get better. And that's beautiful. Like, that we can, there is no, as soon as, and I'm sure you can relate to this, because you're definitely go. Like, there's always, and I want to circle back to like what you were talking about, the kids, your kids watching you build this business. It's been really impressive to watch you and Sean, when you were trying to acquire the land that you now have. And I saw a video of you walking through like the palm trees, and it's like this massive property, and it's like so impressive. Like, I remember when you were trying to find it, and now you're there, and the sky's the limit. Like, when you look back and you see,
it's hard to like,
trajectory
because
and
you're not always outside of yourself, like
Yeah.
your situation,
yeah.
to like sort of step out and look in. And it's, and I think a lot of people think it happened overnight, and it really didn't. You've been witness
Yeah.
to that, where it really has been like building blocks little by little and trying to, you know, match the pieces of like how to get to where we want it to be, which we're definitely not at. But yeah, I think that I heard, you know, it's
And
thank
having
you
your
for sharing
kids
that.
witness that.
Yeah.
And as working moms, I'm sure we constantly question ourselves, on that same topic of, especially I think as women, there's constantly, I don't feel that way because I think being a stay-at-home mom is just as valuable as going to work, right?
I agree.
Or more. Like it's incredibly difficult to raise kids and do that day in, day out. But being a working mom is hard too.
hard, yeah.
So watching your kid, you constantly question yourself, like, and society puts all these unnecessary pressures on us, which you have to like be very intentional of not like following that rabbit hole. Watching your kids like, see like the fruits of that labor, right? As they're growing up, being part of it, like growing, that it's amazing.
I hope that they, I mean, I'm not going to say that they appreciate it every single day and they enjoy it every single day, because sometimes that means being out, outside in the nursery.
They don't want to be out there, the bugs, I hear you.
Exactly. But I do hope that it definitely inspires them, or at least gives them the appreciation that if you work hard at something, that you can achieve it. And I still believe that, we live in the best country in the world, where you can still, if you have a dream and you chase it and you work hard and you have the ethics, and without sacrificing the ethics, because a lot of people
You do the right thing.
right,
Yeah.
can achieve things maybe faster, because we witness it too. We're like, wow, they started after us and but we've always tried to stay true to who we are and what we want and how we want to be known for.
Yeah.
Or what we want to be known for. And I hope that they, grasp that at some point in their lives, maybe not now or, anytime soon. But because I think, we both share that entrepreneurial spirit, and we didn't really have that opportunity to witness that same sort of experience where my kids do. And I want that to foster them also feeling like they can do something productive and, achieve something that they would want to do. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And I think I want to thank you for joining us on the podcast. And I'm so happy that we have these conversations all the time.
All the time.
We just are doing it in front of the camera. And so thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to continuing to grow together.
Yes, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly enjoyed filming it with my friend Maritza. I want to add value and bring content that inspires you to start that business or take that next step on whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So please subscribe to our channel, and you can find us on Instagram at the FoundHers Circle.